In 1992, Whitley Strieber went to his doctor to have an alien object removed. In the clip you're about to see, you'll get to hear the reactions of the doctor and his nurse when he attempts to remove the object.
With glasses.
I'll be able to see that on the video. I'm passing it.
All right.
Which one is that?
Ooh, that was the right thing.
See, this is that.
But then it goes, I guess it went under.
But that's the hard part.
But it disappeared again.
Exactly.
Wait,
It's actually moving now.
well, he's poking it, but it went under.
It's on the run.
Well, thank you, because I could see it just bright as day, and now it's, I don't see it. Yeah.
The 1978 alien abduction case of Tim Cullen in Yuma, Colorado, is fascinating not only due to the alleged abduction itself, but also due to the recovery of an alien implant performed by the late Dr. Roger Leir. Here we'll hear from Tim and review the analysis of the implant's findings.
Not all close encounters can be so easily ignored. Some claim they have evidence that aliens are abducting humans for nefarious experiments.
Come, Lord Jesus, be our guest. May these gifts be blessed. Amen.
Tim Cullen is a cement worker who lives in Yuma, Colorado with his wife Janet, a registered nurse. A recent X-ray revealed a strange object lodged inside Cullen's body. He has no puncture wound or scar, but there is a repressed memory of a terrifying event in his past.
It wasn't 30 seconds after they told me that I had a piece of metal in my arm that I knew where it came from.
In the secret world of close encounters, stories have surfaced of people being taken against their will by extraterrestrials. One who claims to have been abducted is Tim Cullen. In May 1978, Tim and Janet Cullen were driving home from Denver when a bright light appeared on the horizon.
Wow, look at that.
Suddenly, an unidentified flying object hovered right in their path.
It was large and cylinder-shaped and had multiple lights. It wasn't a helicopter and it wasn't an airplane. It wasn't anything I'd ever seen before. What is that?
One.
It's going to cross right over the road.
The craft seemed to come back up toward the road. As it did that, I felt telepathic communication with the creatures inside. Has it changed me? Yeah, it's changed me. Do I find it easy to talk about? No, it'll probably never be easy. Because I know what I'm saying.
Tim believes the encounter led to his abduction, and although he has no recall of the experience, he believes he received an implant that continues to be monitored by aliens.
My arm used to buzz. The buzzing sensation was a little more regular and getting more intense. And as I was aware of it, I felt that it would be aware of some of my thoughts at times and my emotions and react to those.
Worried about the sensation he was experiencing, Cullen met with a doctor who examined his arm. An X-ray revealed that Tim had an object embedded in his left wrist.
I believe it's possible that this certainly could be an alien implant. I've been around Tim for the past almost 24 years, and whenever he's had an injury or a splinter in his finger, I've been there to remove it for him, and I think I would have known about it if he would have had an injury.
Reluctant to expose his experience to his personal doctor, Cullen turned to the internet. 1 year later, his search led him to Dr. Roger Leir, a California podiatrist. Dr. Leir removes objects that patients suspect have been implanted by aliens and provides his service for free.
I am 100% convinced that, number one, these objects are placed in the human body by someone or being using a technology which far exceeds our, because we do not have the ability to put something in the body without making a portal of entry. That's just where it starts.
Dr. Leir carefully screens all his patients before considering an implant removal.
The individual must have a conscious recall of some involvement with a UFO or an abduction scenario.
Over the years, the number of qualified participants have multiplied. Tim Cullen meets the criteria and agrees to travel to Los Angeles to have the object removed by Dr. Leir.
When Tim had the surgery scheduled, I really wanted to go along with him because I'm a registered nurse and I wanted to make sure that everything was done, the right techniques were followed, but yes, I was apprehensive about it.
I am not afraid of anything, no matter how they come at it or what they do. I figured they'd studied me for 20 years. Couldn't prove it was an alien implant until it was taken out. You can say what you want, but you got to have proof,
Tim didn't want to tell anybody the story for 20 years for fear of reprisals against him and his family. This was a very compelling, human scenario which propelled me into doing something for him.
The day of the surgery, a group of ufologists and journalists assemble to witness the event. General Surgeon Dr. John Matriciano is on hand to perform the procedure. He is skeptical of making an alien connection to a piece of debris found in the human body.
I'm basically a non-believer. I think it's somewhat arrogant of us to think that if there were some creatures that come see us.
Don't breathe too much, you're going to pass out.
Cullen is numb for the entire procedure.
So make a small incision right here, not a big one. Did it hurt you?
No.
"20 minutes later, a quarter-inch object is removed from his wrist. According to Dr. Leir, the first abnormal sign is the lack of a cyst surrounding the object, which in 20 years would have grown to the size of an almond.
In a normal situation where a foreign body has been inside the human body for a prolonged period of time, there's a fibrous cyst called an inclusion cyst that forms. In this case, there was none. There's a lot of stain.
Looks like a boy to me.
But Cullen's humor belies the importance that the object might mean in proving the existence of alien life and contact with the human species.
Have it analyzed.
The object is placed in a plastic vial containing plasma from Cullen's blood to preserve it. To secure the evidence, the implant is sealed in a tamper-resistant vial in front of witnesses. Dr. Leir takes the specimen to be analyzed at Digital Instruments, a research laboratory near Santa Barbara, California. They agree to their first alien implant examination, viewing it as an opportunity to put their new atomic force microscope to the test.
So that's the sample here, and I'm going to put in a bit of epoxy here.
Dr. Irene Rivenko has a PhD in biology and is also a medical doctor. Under the microscope, the so-called implant appears to have some unusual traits.
I've never seen really this kind of pattern. I would guess that people who work on material science can see this kind of structure on some metal, maybe. But in biology, I've never really seen anything like that.
Puzzled by the lack of a fibrous cyst, she probes what looks like a thin membrane encasing the object.
We just got a little piece of this material and we're going to let it dry in air. This is what we get after a few minutes in air. And this part here is still very squishy, very soft. If I press on the other part of the tissue, here it's very hard. It looks like a resin, something like a plastic. I've never seen this before in human tissues.
A second opinion from a government laboratory that chooses to remain anonymous found the object to be highly unusual, amorphous, and magnetic, a combination that does not exist in any form of metal today. Exactly what this object is remains unclear, but Dr. Leir is hopeful that each removal brings us closer to the source of these objects, whether earthly or not.
Some of the things that we found in the implant surgery, such as the membrane, which seems to allow a foreign object to be placed in the human body and prevent the human body from rejecting it, I think is a most important thing. And if we could understand this better and duplicate it, why, we would have a tremendous benefit to medical science.
Though the tests are not conclusive, Cullen still believes the implant is better off in the hands of science than in his own.
I'll tell you what, that research on the membrane has made me feel real good. I think it's the only truly piece of this puzzle that we can solve for right now.
People around Yuma have been very supportive. I was kind of, I guess, naive, thinking, well, we'll go to California and if we have this removed and then we'll just go back to our little life in Yuma, but that's not the way it's been. Tim has wanted to get the word out about what happened to him and to get more people aware of it. It's definitely different than life used to be.
The percentage of alleged alien abductees who claim to have been implanted with foreign objects varies across studies and anecdotal reports, but estimates generally range between 20% to 30%. Key findings from research, Dr. Roger Leir's studies, were 25 to 30% of abductees that reported unexplained implants. The Intruders Foundation, which was from Bud Hopkins, suggested roughly 20 to 25% of cases involved implant claims. The Mutual UFO Network analyses of abduction databases show implant reports in about 15 to 20% of cases, though many go unreported or unverified. And you guessed correct if you believe it's still happening today.
Investigations come across evidence of alleged abductions of humans by non-human beings.
We came across information that suggested that people were having things put inside their body that they did not give approval to.
So people have been taken away from their homes in the middle of the night and had things planted in them.
Something that was put inside their body, something invasive, right? Something that was not put there by their permission to do something.
You've seen one of those implants, haven't you?
I have been privy to some very interesting things.
This photo, he says, shows one of those interesting things. It's allegedly a biological sample removed from a US service member and submitted for analysis. This is possibly an alien implant.
Well, if you look, there's actually a piece of the chip sticking out and what appears to be these fibers that were moving on their own. And then it looks like this chip or whatever this is, this foreign object, is encapsulated by some sort of biological material.
Could that not be something biological, microbiological, or parasitic?
Well, it certainly, the outside looks like it's some sort of masking device. In essence, you have a foreign object, which it's a metallic object in there, and it seems to be encapsulated by some sort of biological material.
But how do you know it's not just a bit of metal that somebody's knocked into on a building site?
Well, in this particular case, this was moving on its own. It was actually had its own metabolic activity. And it terrified one of the doctors who was looking at this under a microscope. Said they didn't want to see this again.
But are UAPs abducting people at random, or are they drawn to certain individuals? Elizondo says research has revealed an intriguing pattern among UAP experiences in a fascinating part of the brain.
This is a part of the brain known as the quadrante putamen, and it is a very specific part of the brain. It's responsible for all sorts of stuff, and some have even speculated precognition
But certainly intuition.
Intuition for sure.
Elizondo says the caudate putamen is larger in people with alleged psychic powers, what the government has called remote viewing. What about people who've had UAP experiences?
Very interesting. The same thing. And by the way, that's not me telling you. These are medical doctors and scientists.